Hi, it's a warm and muggy Chicago night. And it's about ready to go to bed. It's actually quite late. Now it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. And this story popped into my head, and I thought I'd share it with you, in part because it's stuck in my head and I can't sleep until I get it out. It involves a student, involves the first trip I ever took to Japan, and it was actually taking a group of students to Japan with a colleague. The colleague had suggested it, and she had lived in Japan before, so the two of us led a group of 15 students, 10 women and 5 guys, to Japan. Um, and we were for part of the trip, we were in Kyoto, and we stayed in a hotel in Kyoto, and then we moved from this hotel to a small Buddhist temple um, towards the southern part of the town. It's a great little temple. It's a really cool place to stay and really inexpensive. If you're interested, you can get in touch with me and I can try to dig up the information for you, because you can still stay in this place. So we stayed in this temple. The 10 women had their own tatami floored room. It was kind of like a slumber party for them, and the two groups guys were separated into 3 in the top room facing a beautiful little garden behind the temple, and then downstairs was a small tea room, and 2 guys were in the tea room, and they also had a view of the garden in the back. My colleague and I were put in the main hall with the main imagery and statuary. It wasn't a very big hall, and they had cordoned off a certain section of it, a small section of it, using painted screens. A small spot for my colleague, and she had her own spot, and I had my own spot, and they had laid out traditional Japanese bedding, futon, for us, and so it was very comfortable and very cozy. Although at night, to get up and go to the bathroom was rather creepy because, it was the main hall of a Buddhist temple. So I remember getting out in the middle of the night, and it was also really dark, but not pitch black dark, because there was enough light so that as soon as I emerged from behind the screens, I would see. I was confronted by the main imagery, which was this dark, shadowy, ghostly image of a seated Buddha, the Buddha Amida, the Buddha of the Pure Land, and accompanying figures and ritual paraphernalia. So it was really creepy at night. In any case, my colleague had discovered that there was a local neighborhood bath, and we thought it might be a good idea if students were interested to take students who were interested to this local bath. And I'd never been to a public Japanese bath before, so I was kind of interested, and I heard they were really great. And I was used to the Japanese bath idea when growing up as a kid in Hawaii. My dad's side of the family is Japanese ancestry, and when we visited with his parents, they had a traditional kind of a outside in an outhouse Japanese ofuro, Japanese bath. So I was used to that, but I wasn't used to a public bath in Japan, so I was kind of eager to go. Only one male student was interested in accompanying me, and that was this student who was the focus of this tale, in a sense. A really likable guy. I mean, he was sweet, polite, really considerate, and generally misread by people when they looked at his appearance. He was a big guy, maybe 5'9" high, maybe 5'10", or maybe 177 centimeters. And so he's a big fellow, and he had a bit of a beard. It was close cut, so it wasn't a really bushy beard, dark brown hair. I believe he had a tongue piercing, and he had some tattoos on his arms. Not too many, but there they were. But the real characteristic and thing that garnered a lot of attention from locals was his hair. His hair was cut short, but it was cut in a spiral pattern. And the center of the spiral was a cowlick, right about here in the back of his head. And the spiral pattern was dyed blue. Moreover, he had glued, that's what he said, it was glued, glued a bun of hair to the center of the spiral. And that bun could be undone, and occasionally he would undo it, and it would hang as a long ponytail. The bun and the ponytail idea kind of made him look like a gaijin samurai. Anyway, he even attracted compliments. I remember we were visiting the Shugaku Inn, Imperial Garden in Kyoto, and this middle-aged Japanese woman turned to me and said in Japanese that she complimented him on his hair. I mean, I knew enough Japanese I don't know Japanese very well, but I knew enough to understand what she was saying. And she said that his hair was very beautiful, so I explained it to him. Anyway, So he was really also interesting, not just because of his appearance, but also his background. He was a kid. He grew up as a really conservative fundamentalist Christian. Then he goes to arts. Then he gives that up. He goes to art school, and then he leaves art school for a while, and he joins the Merchant Marine. He leaves the Merchant Marine. According to him, a friend of his in the Merchant Marine warned him that some of the members of the crew on their ship, when he was out at sea, were planning or thinking of throwing him overboard because they thought he was gay. Anyways, then he leaves the Merchant Marine, ends up back in art school, and that's how I meet him. So, so he and I go to this local bath, and it's really comfortable, nice little small place. The women go to their side, and we go to our side. There's a nice, comfortable changing room, very clean. We take off our clothes, put our things in a basket, and shelve the basket. Automatic glass doors lead to the bath area, and there are a number of showering stations because, of course, you have to make sure that your hair is shampooed and rinsed and your body is completely clean before you enter any of the bath pools. And so I had quite a nice time. It was really relaxing. I really enjoyed it. Although the vibe in the place was a bit kind of strange. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't particularly elegant, very neighborhood type of feel, but rather rough and ready, kind of gruff, sort of blue-collar sort of feeling, a Japanese equivalent of blue-collar. And a high testosterone level. Anyway, so and nevertheless, I had a great time. I had enough. I came out, and then I turned around, looked through the glass doors from the changing room into the bath area, and I see the student there, and he's at one of the showering stations. He's back there because he had already done that, but he went back to one of the showering stations. And standing behind him a couple of feet is this rather aggressive-looking young man. Rather standing behind him in a rather threatening pose, and lo and behold, he's got body tattoos. And I'm thinking, oh, interesting. Yakuza. Gangsters. And the tattoos look like gangster tattoos. As if I would know, but that's what they look that way. So I watched as this guy would follow the student around. And finally, the student comes back out to the changing room, and I said, so what's going on with this guy? Because there he is. He's standing there, and he's standing like this. His arms akimbo, and his chest is out, and one leg's thrust forward, and he's giving us the evil eye. And the student says, oh, yeah, Yakuza. He says, yeah, it looks like Yakuza. I says, well, there are Yakuza here because I went into the sauna, and there were a couple of old guys who had body tattoos, and they were really friendly, actually. I figured they were Yakuza, but they spoke a little English, and we chatted. We had a great time. I come out, and there were these two young guys, particularly that one young guy out there who's trying to pick a fight, and I work to avoid eye contact with him so that I don't get involved, but, and I try to enjoy myself, but he keeps following me around, so I've had it, So, yeah. So, this guy stares at us the whole time we're in the changing room, and we finish toweling off, then we put our clothes back on, and then we exit. And fortunately, they don't follow us out. And we're standing out there, kind of getting a chuckle over this whole thing. And as we leave, we notice there are two black limousines with smoke glass windows, and think, oh, of course, yes. It turns out, who would have thought? Who knew that we would stumble on the neighborhood Yakuza bath? Anyway, so it just happens the women came out from our group. The women came out, and we told them the story. And one of the students, she was all keen on the Yakuza. She says, Yakuza, can I go in? Can I go in? I want to hang out with the Yakuza. I said, no, you can't go in the men's side. No, you can't go in and hang out. Oh, really? I can't go hang out with the Yakuza? No, you can't go hang out with the Yakuza. So anyway, that's my story. I hope you found it interesting. There's no real punchline to the story, but it was really quite an interesting encounter of like a geeky professor and this really interesting guy with this blue spiral hair student in our encounter with the Yakuza in a local neighborhood bath. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. When I come up with more stories, I'll post them. Bye.